This is a quick basic guide for taking a booking. We'll look a little bit more in depth in a few extra videos. To start off with, when the client recognition is working, number recognition, you'll get a pop-up screen appear when you take the call. And if it's a regular customer, it'll show a list of previous jobs. There's an extra feature here which is quite nice, that if they happen to have already booked one for that day, perhaps they pre-booked it was due to come out and they've forgotten, or someone in the house booked one not realising and someone else has called to book a second one, you can alert them to this and say, actually, you've already got a job waiting. The other option is they could have called to update that job, so you can do that from here as well. If they want to say, well, we've got a booking on the screen, can we just possibly have it 2 hours later? You could click on one of these boxes here for date and time. You could click in this box here, you can click in this box and change that from say 4 to 6 o'clock. Then you simply come over here and click update, and that's that. The box will disappear, the job's, all the info's updated, and it should work a treat. If you need to dig in a little bit deeper and change things, you right click on this job here, and then a little window here will pop up saying view booking, which you can then click and it'll open up the full booking screen that we'll be using. And if none of the addresses there are previous addresses or current one of any use, you then go to new booking, which we'll swap over to now. There we go. And obviously you bring the information in here. Now, because the client recognition isn't in at the moment, I'm going to put the number in that was on the previous screen I've shown you. And that should bring up a window with previous jobs. So this will pop up automatically because the number would already be in there. It would have been pulled in off the phone system directly into the CabTreasure software. And in here is, again, you've got the same kind of options on the first window you saw, where you could highlight any one of these previous bookings if that's what they want, and you could say pick booking and it would populate all of the fields here, for example. You can also, there's a nice little feature where you can, let's say that is one of their regular pickups and they want to go to somewhere different, so the route's changed slightly, but it's somewhere that if they've been before. You could say, if you right click on any of these, you can use them as either a pickup or a destination. So let's say the customer wants to go from the office, you could right click and say select as pickup, but you can splice the job with another one, and they could, instead of be going like that one to Witherspoons, you could right click there once you've highlighted it and say select destination. So that's now should have spliced those two. So when you hit pick booking now, the information will come into this screen behind from those two pickup and destination points. If you click pick details, it doesn't populate the address fields, it just adds the name of the customer and other basic details. So you need to click pick booking like this. Here we go. So now that's got all the info in there that you need, and there. If the address is incomplete, now because CabTreasure have copied across our existing database, sometimes some of the addresses haven't got full postcodes, and what this actually does is it doesn't correctly pick the right plot. In fact, it'll just be blank there. So if any of the drivers attempt to use the sat nav on their driver app and they try to click navigate, if it hasn't got the full address in, we've got to talk to CabTreasure about this, it just freezes, so it causes endless problems. So what we've got to look for is any incomplete addresses, or if this isn't full, the easiest way to correct that is to just highlight, say, that much of it, and hit delete on the keyboard, and then you can re-click it on the address database that pops up, and it should give you the full postcode and fill this in. So those are the two important fields. You've got the customer name here. If you hit return from this box, it moves you down to the date. So if you hit return on the keyboard, it moves you down to the pickup date and time. If you want to use any of the other fields here, like email or another phone number, you can either click in it with the mouse, as I'm doing now. You can see there I'm clicking in different boxes, or you can use the up and down arrow keys to go back and forth. Some customers may require or request even they have email notifications, so you could put their email address in there, and then at any given point off the main screen or within the booking screen you can select F11 on the keyboard or the shortcut button that's actually attached to this back screen here. It's behind this window, or that one, and the email will already be in there, and you can just send a note to say, you know, your tax is confirmed. So that's that. Once you move down to, if you hit return now, you can go straight here with a mouse click, but if you hit return as well, it'll automatically go from these passenger info down to the pickup date and time. In here you can enter them individually, or you can click the down arrow to take it off a calendar that pops up. Again, with time you can highlight the hours and minutes and scroll up and down here, or just simply type it in to what you actually want. Some of the jobs at the moment, this is an existing customer, so it's automatically put this in as auto dispatch. Ignore bidding. Bidding isn't an option for Hightown, but any previous jobs that have been carried across, like pre-bookings, where we say we need to update the address on some of them, you'll see, because this won't have the pickup plot in. You also need to make sure you tick auto dispatch, just so that we've got control over that from when we're in the main dashboard window that I'm sort of wiggling my mouse over now. Looking back at this information now, everything's in if it's just a straightforward booking. If you change the time to a later date so it becomes a pre-booking, you can look up the job again on pre-bookings at the bottom of this screen here. If you leave the time as it is, it'll just pop up on this window in the list in date or in time order. Now, depending on the kind of job, when you dispatch these jobs, one thing that's different to the existing system is it'll show them in the sort of last job, as it were, it needs dispatching. Not this one would be the latest job you've taken, so it's going to be further down the queue, quite possibly. But let's suppose in this one went in there, but this was a booking from just out of town. This booking would have a longer lead time to get to the customer wherever they are. So if it was on auto dispatch, even though this is position 4 in the list, the computer would know that it's going to take longer to get there, so it would auto dispatch this job and prioritize it above, say, one above, which is just a small town job. So in a way it's slightly better than what we've got at the moment. And that's basically it. There's a few extra features now which you could look at. For instance, if this customer had said to you, can you give me an estimated price? You simply, now you've got the address in, the full address, you click on calculated fares, or as you can see there, F4 on the keyboard, and that should give you a calculated fare there based on the mileage and pretty closely to what it's actually going to cost, bearing in mind it can't calculate waiting time. If you want to override that, let's say this is an agreed quote, an agreed fixed price, you would then tick the box there and override that with whatever we've decided on and the customer's agreed to, and that will override anything else in the system and fix it to that. We can look at other features in a minute, so let's just say that's enough on that one for now. To save the booking, you can either click the arrow there and click home. When I say home, as we do with the current system, we use the home key on the keyboard. That's the same as clicking this button, and that will put the job in the queue and hold it. If you hit end, as we do on the current system, that puts it into auto release, ready for the computer to look where the nearest car is, etc., and deal with it that way. But for now, we'll just home this one, and that's now tucked away in the list and ready to be dispatched. I'll stop there and we'll look at something else now. Bye.